I got home at 3 in the morning on Saturday. The drive from Aberdeen to London was terrible because of the usual Friday traffic. Plus, there was a big accident on the highway that held me up for hours. I assumed Liz, my wife Elizabeth, would have gone to bed a long time ago, but I was surprised she didn't leave a light on for me. I managed to grab my bags and briefcase from the trunk of my car and awkwardly carried them up to the front door. Once inside, I immediately felt that something was off. The house was freezing, likely because the heating was turned down or off, which was odd because Liz usually likes the house very warm. After dropping my bags and turning on some lights, I was stunned to find some furniture missing. Confused, I quickly went upstairs to our bedroom, expecting to find Liz asleep, but she wasn't there. The closet was open, and nearly all of Liz's clothes were missing. I was in shock. Wondering what in the world had happened, I thought a drink might help. So I went to the living room, poured myself some rum, and sat down to think. It was clear Liz had left, but I couldn't understand why. We've been married for almost 19 years and have twin daughters, both in their first year at university. And yes, Liz was already pregnant when we got married. To be honest, when Liz and I got married, it wasn't out of deep love. We were just having fun together, and then she got pregnant with Susan and Sandra. I decided to do the right thing by marrying her. Honestly, I didn't see any other option. My dad would have been furious if I hadn't stepped up, but love works in mysterious ways. Before I knew it, I found myself completely in love with Liz and our daughters. My life began to revolve around them, and I would go to great lengths to make Liz happy. I pride myself on being as dedicated a husband as anyone could be. Since our daughters left for college, Liz and I had been reconnecting and making up for lost time. However, our marriage wasn't perfect. Elizabeth had a strong personality, and I often went along with her desires just to avoid conflict. For the most part, I was content with our life together. But now, it seemed I had been deceived, or at least Liz was not being honest. It appeared she had left me, but I couldn't understand why. She frequently expressed her love for me, and we had even talked about how unlikely our marriage would have been if not for her pregnancy. Yet, we both felt it was the best thing that happened to us, falling deeply in love over the years. Now it seemed one of us might have reconsidered. My emotions got the better of me, and anger took over. I began to pace the room, then went outside to the garden for a smoke. Liz disliked the smell of my tobacco inside, so I always smoked outside. After 10 minutes, the reality that Liz might not ever be around to complain again hit me, but I still finished my pipe outdoors. Coming back inside, I noticed a letter on the kitchen table addressed to David. I paused, staring at it momentarily. The letter was definitely from Liz, and she was clearly angry with me when she wrote it. She only calls me David when she's mad. Sitting down, I hesitated to open the envelope, dreading what it might say. Finally, I opened it and read her furious words. She called me a liar and a cheater, saying she was leaving me. She accused me of being unfaithful with someone much younger and promised to take everything from me in the divorce. Liz was so upset, she even threatened violence against the woman she believed I was involved with. It was clear she believed I hadn't thought about our daughters at all. She warned me to find a new place to live, as she planned to take the house in the divorce. Elizabeth, huh? That's interesting, I said to myself. I was curious about who Liz was accusing me of being with, thinking there must have been a mistake in communication. I don't fit the profile of someone who cheats. If I were that type, I would have left Liz when she got pregnant, but I value what I have too much to risk losing it. Sure, I've faced temptations like any other guy, but I've always been aware of what's important and acted cautiously. Nevertheless, Liz seemed convinced I was unfaithful, so what was I to do? The only logical step at the moment was to go to bed. I had been awake since early Friday morning, and now it was the early hours of Saturday. I tend to keep my emotions in check, a trait that served me well professionally. I believed once I understood the issue, I could reassure Liz she was mistaken. However, lying in bed, sleep evaded me as doubts crept in. Why hadn't Liz confronted me directly if she suspected infidelity? That made me wonder if she somehow expected me to cheat. Over time, I've observed that people often expect others to act as they themselves would. Wait a minute, let me think this through. Could it be that Liz suspected me of cheating because she herself had been unfaithful, and then, for some reason, she started suspecting me too? That thought had me jumping out of bed. This was serious. Before I knew it, I was searching the whole house for any sign that Liz had been cheating. I turned her sewing room upside down, but there wasn't much point in checking her bedroom drawers since they were already empty. Then, I moved on to the computer. Breaking into her email didn't take long, and I spent hours combing through her internet history. It was a huge waste of time, but I felt I had to do it. The only thing I found was her search for a divorce lawyer the Thursday before, but there was no evidence she actually reached out to any. That's when I got a bit of a sly idea. To win a fight, sometimes you have to strike first. It was a long shot, but I decided to email the law firm she seemed to have picked, pretending to need their services for my own divorce case. I figured there was a slim chance she hadn't contacted them yet. Turns out I was right. They got back to me within minutes, asking me to come in as soon as possible. So I did just that. By 10 a.m. that Saturday, I was in their office, hiring Maria Granite with a check, making her my lawyer. Liz probably didn't know that some lawyers work on Saturdays. After explaining what I discovered at home and showing her the letter, Maria, my lawyer, asked if I had ever been unfaithful in my marriage. I assured her that I loved my wife and hadn't done anything that could endanger our marriage. Maria advised me to stay calm, try to find out where Liz had gone, and talk to her, believing it might just be a big misunderstanding that we could resolve through communication. I went back home and started looking for Liz. I called her parents and brother, but they hadn't heard from her and confirmed she wasn't with them. Her sister was also unaware of Liz's whereabouts, but I hadn't expected Liz to go there due to the distance. Despite being left in the dark about Liz leaving me, her family quickly sided with her after I explained the situation. The next call was to Liz's friend Rose, which I was dreading but felt was necessary. Rose, who's been divorced twice, has a reputation for being unpredictable, switching from sweet to harsh in an instant. Liz and Rose have been friends since their school days, and Rose, known for her attractiveness, would spend time with Liz when she wasn't with one of her boyfriends. Liz and I would chuckle over how she often ended her girls' nights needing a ride home because Rose had found company. I had always trusted Liz despite her friendship with Rose. As soon as Rose would find a new guy, Liz would ask me to come get her. I called Rose, and right away she started giving me a hard time, confirming my suspicion that Liz might be there, even though Rose claimed she wasn't. Frustrated, I ended the call. The old feelings of anger and confusion came rushing back, so I stepped outside to calm down with my pipe. Once I collected my thoughts, I realized Liz was trying to provoke me by leaving without explanation, but I decided not to let it get to me. I hadn't done anything wrong. Deciding to play along with Liz's games, I called our twin daughters, who were shocked to hear their mom had left. I reassured them I hadn't done anything to cause Liz to leave and speculated she might be at Rose's. I even said Liz could stay there for all I cared. The girls thought it was all a big misunderstanding and believed their mom would realize her mistake soon. I knew I shouldn't have involved them, but I was caught up in the moment and thought they might talk some sense into their mom. Then I went to the garage to dig around. When we first bought our house, I changed all the outdoor lock barrels for two main reasons. We weren't sure we had all the original keys, and I wanted one key for all the doors for convenience. Changing a Eurolock barrel is a quick job. I switched all the lock barrels back to the original ones, then I made sure the garage door couldn't open and secured it shut. Liz wanted out, so now she was out for good and couldn't get back in. While I was working on the garage door, old man Blake from across the street came over. He and his wife are pretty nosy, so I figured they saw Liz moving stuff out and wanted to know what was happening. I didn't tell him much, but he mentioned seeing a rental truck on Friday morning and some people, including Liz and a woman, moving things out. Liz drove away in her Volvo, and the woman left in a pink VW Beetle, definitely Rose's car. That evening, I made sure no one could see inside the house from the ground floor by drawing all the curtains and closing the garage window blinds. But from the second floor and through our security CCTV system, which I installed for Liz to feel safer when I wasn't home, I could see outside perfectly. I decided to call Rose again, and she instantly denied Liz was with her, calling me names and insisting she wouldn't tell me Liz's whereabouts even if she knew. I calmly asked her to relay a message to Liz if she saw her. I told her since Liz decided to believe some rumor without talking to me, I didn't want to see her again, and was planning on filing for divorce due to her desertion. Rose was shocked, saying Liz was planning to divorce me for cheating, Before she can accuse me of that, Rose, I'd actually have to cheat, which I know I haven't done. So, I think I'm in the clear. Don't worry yourself. The divorce will likely go in my favor since Liz has decided to leave me. She even left a letter saying she's leaving, which my lawyer says is all the proof I need. But then Rose slipped up, starting to say something personal, then switched it to accuse me. I hung up and disconnected the phone, intrigued by Rose's slip-up, which made me think she believed she saw me with another woman. Would Rose relay my exact words to Liz? Might this make Liz second-guess her decision? After hanging up, I made myself dinner, then checked outside when it was dark to ensure privacy. Liz wanted to play games, and I was ready to play along. Later, I saw Liz's car on the CCTV, suggesting a change in her plans. She and Rose sat in the car, probably debating their next move. Maybe Liz was reconsidering, wondering if she had enough proof for court, or if she had misunderstood the situation. She might have thought staying in the house would prevent me from claiming she had deserted me. After a while, Liz tried to use her key on the front door, probably after failing to open the garage with her remote, only to find her key didn't work. Liz rang the doorbell a few times and even yelled for me through the mail slot. Rose got out of the Volvo and joined her. I could hear them talking, but the only clear thing was Rose suggesting they try another door. They walked out of the camera's view, and soon I heard them at the kitchen door, then the patio door, which is really close to where I was. Next thing I knew, they were back at the front door. Liz tried the garage door manually after the front door didn't budge, but eventually gave up. Then, they had a heated chat by the Volvo before Rose walked off and Liz got back in her car. For the next 30 minutes, Liz seemed to be calling repeatedly, but didn't talk to anyone. Probably she was calling the house phone and my turned-off mobile. Later, Rose came back with McDonald's, and they stayed in the car till after midnight before driving off. Rose's VW was left behind, hinting they might return in the morning. All Sunday they were parked outside, with Rose making several McDonald's runs. They left after midnight again, taking Rose's car this time, likely because Rose needed it for work on Monday. I left the house early Monday, grabbing breakfast at a service area and reading the papers until work time. I was the first to arrive at the office, expecting the situation with Liz to escalate. Right at 9:05, my phone rang, probably Liz finally reaching out. "Liz, what's up? You've been trying to get into the house all weekend?" I was caught off guard by her anger. Honestly, I was expecting an apologetic Liz that morning. "I wouldn't try to get into the house again if I were you, Liz. You don't live there now, and since it's too big for just me, I've decided to rent it out." That wasn't true, but I wanted to see her reaction. Liz freaked out. "You rented out our house? Why would you do that?" "Well, Liz, we're looking at a costly court battle ahead. The rent will help cover those expenses." Liz couldn't believe it. "No, Liz, you're the one who went over the edge by accusing me of cheating and writing that mean letter, and avoiding talking to me while staying with Rose." "David, we need to talk." "Talking time was over last Friday, Liz. Now, it's all about the lawyers." "So, you're not sorry at all? You're just okay with us splitting after 20 years? "Wait a minute, I didn't do anything wrong. You're the one who left and wrote that note, and you brought up divorce first. Maybe you should talk to that lawyer you mentioned and then let me know so I can inform mine." Then, I hung up. I wondered if I was taking things too far. Yeah, I guess I was pushing things a bit. But in my eyes, there's nothing worse than your partner doubting your trust when you've been nothing but loyal. So, I made a few calls I thought were necessary. First was to the truck rental place to confirm a few details. They connected me with a guy I remembered from one of Rose's parties. Pretty sure I gave him a good scare. Then I made a call overseas to cover all bases. About 30 minutes later, Maria Grant, my lawyer, gave me a call, sounding a bit miffed. She figured out Liz was planning to hire her against me. I admitted I knew Liz might try that, but since Maria's the top divorce lawyer around, I wanted her on my side. Maria informed me she sent Liz to another firm, noting they were also top-notch and costly. I joked about finding a lawyer that wasn't expensive, and Maria reminded me I'm free to comment on my money how I see fit. She then asked why I wasn't trying to talk things out with Liz. I told her that would all come out eventually. Liz is calling me David, which means she's mad at me. She won't listen when I say I haven't cheated. She'd call me Dave if she believed me. Elizabeth never uses David unless she's upset. I don't get your point, but you guys really should talk. I'm open to talking when she's ready to listen. But I've got some big questions for her, and if I don't like the answers, we'll be heading for a divorce. Do you think she's been cheating? Not exactly, but she jumped to believe I could. Makes me wonder if she's been as loyal as she expects me to be. She's quick to judge. I get your point now, but it's a new one for me. We'll see how it goes. I'll talk to you later, Maria. I couldn't focus much after that. Around noon, Liz called back. Dave, we need to talk. I decided to meet her at a pub near my work at 2. Liz seemed thrown off by my agreement but quickly slipped back into formal mode, calling me David. At the pub, I didn't offer to buy her a drink, reminding her she left me. She bought her own and demanded, "What's your excuse?" "Elizabeth, I'm clueless about what you're accusing me of. What exactly did I do wrong?" "You were in Blackpool with some woman last weekend. You were seen, so don't deny it." "I was in Edinburgh for work, as always. We even talked on the phone." "I don't know where you were. You could have been anywhere, but I was told you were in Blackpool with another woman." "My work schedule is always the same, but someone saying they saw me in Blackpool is either mistaken or lying." "Rose saw you there with another woman while on a trip to see the illuminations." "Rose said you didn't even notice her because you were too into the woman you were with. She even followed you to your room." "Liz, think about it. How long have we known Rose, and you think I wouldn't recognize her? You're right. Rose stands out, especially with her fashion choices. No man would miss her presence." "Exactly. So the idea that I wouldn't notice her if we were in the same hotel is ludicrous." Suddenly, Rose barged into the bar, sat down next to me, and slammed a photo on the table. "Explain this," she demanded. I looked at the photo, recognized mailing, and showed it to Liz. "Isn't this mailing? Rose took pictures of her but didn't realize she's my brother's girlfriend. They must have been in the country. Did you know they were visiting, Liz?" "You know their ship usually stops in Amsterdam. My brother's married to Mailing, a lovely woman from Singapore he met while working as first mate on a container ship. They actually live on the ship since it's rarely in port, and many crew members do the same with their spouses. And yeah, my brother and I are identical twins, which seems to be a family trait, considering my daughters are twins too." Liz started to cry and Rose sat there, mouth agape. "Rose, did you say hi to Phil? You used to have a crush on him back at our wedding. That's been a while, hasn't it?" Now, both were in tears. Liz from realizing her mistake, and Rose probably feeling guilty for causing trouble. I just sat there, drinking my beer, letting them collect themselves. Once they stopped crying, it was clear they were at a loss for words. Rose was the first to try to make amends. "Dave, I'm sorry. I totally forgot about Phil. I genuinely thought it was you. You two look so much alike." "Well, twins tend to look alike, Rose. And don't worry about forgetting Phil. I doubt he'd remember you either," I said a bit sharply, but I was still pretending to be more upset than I was. "I'm really sorry, Dave," Liz chimed in, sounding more composed. "It never crossed my mind it could be Philip. Can you forgive my foolish mistake? I can see now how wrong I was." "No, I absolutely can't forgive you," I said with anger. Both of their faces showed shock. "I've got to ask, Liz, why would you even think for a second that I'd be unfaithful? We've been together 19 years. Have I ever done anything to make you doubt me?" "No, Dave, you've been nothing but a good husband and a fantastic dad," she admitted. "Then why were you so convinced I was cheating? And think before you answer. Saying it's because Rose told you suggests you trust her over your own husband. I've been the one who's been here for you, taking care of you and our daughters. Every time Rose ditched you for a guy during your nights out, I was the one who picked you up. No complaints from me ever." Liz just sat there, taking in my words, pondering. I waited a bit before pressing on. "What made you jump to believing I'd cheat? Is it because you've been stepping out on me? People usually suspect others of what they're capable of themselves. The thought of you cheating never crossed my mind because I couldn't imagine being unfaithful to you, so I figured you'd be the same. But you've changed everything now. Without hesitation, you assumed I was cheating just because Rose said so. You didn't even ask me about it. Now prove to me you've never cheated. What about all those late nights coming home, or the times you crashed at Rose's? What were you doing while I was away on business?" "Dave, I swear, I've never cheated on you, ever," she pleaded. Liz blurted out, clearly agitated. "So you're telling me? But who were those two guys with the rental truck on Friday, and why did you give that guy a kiss?" I noticed Liz flinch when I mentioned the kiss. They work with Rose. She asked them to help out, she explained. And how did you thank them once they dropped your stuff off at Rose's? The same way Rose shows her appreciation? I knew exactly what I was implying. Rose often bragged about how she repaid favors, especially with car maintenance. I've warned her about the garage owner's wife. She's not someone to mess with. I once saw her confront a woman her husband was fooling around with. Never saw that woman again. No, I didn't do anything like that. I just gave Mike a quick peck on the cheek to say thanks. It was just a small gesture, Liz insisted. But you did that in public. What happened in private at Rose's? I pressed. Nothing, Dave. You have to believe me. They just helped unload and left. They needed to return the van. If that's true, then why were there extra charges? The van wasn't brought back until 10 a.m. on Saturday. When you rent a van online, they email you the receipt. I saw that email. The van wasn't returned until Saturday morning at 10. What really went on? I need to leave before I get really angry. Let me by, Rose, or I'll have to move you myself. Rose stood up, and I squeezed past her. I turned to Liz. I'm only going to believe the complete truth from you. I have a lot of friends who visit those same places you and Rose go to. You need to decide fast if you want to work on our marriage. Right now, I'm not sure I care. But if I hear any stories about what you've been doing, you better hope you've already told me. Be at our house by 8 tonight. I'll give you an hour to explain. Then I left the bar. I'm not clueless, and I think Liz knows that too. Though I never asked them, my friends have always watched out for Liz and Rose during their nights out. I've been informed Liz is known as the ice maiden in the club scene. Always fun, but never going further than dancing. Liz's problem is she doesn't know who my friends are or what they might tell me. If she's been up to anything, she needs to come clean tonight. After a late lunch, I decided not to return to the office and went home instead. The answering machine was blinking with messages when I got in. Liz had left a couple of messages before calling my office, wondering where I was and why she couldn't get into the house. Then there was a message from Ricky Morris, a school acquaintance. He mentioned Liz and Rose were at the club Friday, spreading rumors about our separation. He wanted to know how to proceed. Rick called back quickly and then showed up at my house within 10 minutes. Ricky, who had a rough past and later found his path in life through amateur boxing and working as a bouncer, eventually became the manager of a big local club. There are rumors he might own a piece of some local night spots too. Ricky has always been protective over me, especially where Liz is concerned. He would let me know who Liz was dancing with, or if anyone tried to hit on her when she went out. He was the one who told me Liz was known as the ice maiden in the club scene. Rick refused a beer since he was working later and opted for coffee instead. He wanted to know what was going on between me and Liz, since Rose was spreading rumors about us splitting up and accusing me of cheating with a young woman in Blackpool. I explained that Rose mistook my brother Philip and his wife in Blackpool for me, which led to Liz leaving me. Rick was shocked and asked if I had managed to clear up the misunderstanding with Liz. Yeah, well, Rick and I were just catching up. He was pretty sure no one ever got close to Liz like that. He even told me about Friday night at the club, how Liz and Rose left early and headed straight to Rose's place. He had checked with the taxi driver just to make sure. I thanked him for being such a good friend. Then, we just talked about old times until he had to leave for work. Right when Ricky was leaving, Liz showed up. She seemed puzzled to see him, not knowing Ricky and I were friends. Inside the house, she asked if that was Morris from the Starlight Club. I told her he was an old buddy, just stopping by to talk about what's been going on with us. I took control in the kitchen making coffee. Liz tried to brush off our issues as me being childish, but I wasn't having any of it. No, Ricky, we're playing a bit of a mind game right now. I was upset that Liz didn't talk to me first. It got me wondering if she's been sneaking around. Dave, trust me, no one's getting close to Liz. Some guys thought they had a shot when they heard you two were having trouble, but she was colder than ever. Liz and Rose left the club early, and I made sure they got straight home. Thanks, Ricky. It's good to know I've got friends. Anytime, Dave. You should drop by the club sometime. After catching up on old times, Ricky left just as Liz arrived. She recognized him and was puzzled why he'd visited. Inside, she questioned me about Ricky Morris from the Starlight Club. Yeah, he's an old buddy. Came to talk about the divorce. Let's head to the kitchen for coffee. Liz tried to make peace, admitting Rose's mistake about mistaking my brother for me, but I was firm. reminding her of her quick decision to leave. She pleaded for us to stop the silliness and admit her fault, but I held my ground, questioning her trust in me over Rose. Liz confessed to acting hastily out of anger and sought to return home, but I was wary, questioning the depth of her trust in our future. "You're right, I went too far. Rose suggested it to make you see I was serious." "Back to Rose again, huh? It feels like she's behind every argument we've had. And another thing, if Rose had mentioned seeing me with an Asian girl, wouldn't you think of Philip? But Rose didn't tell you the girl was Asian, did she? Maybe she didn't notice. But then why was she telling everyone I was with a chink bird? She must have known it was Mailing in Philip. I don't get why she lied to you." "Why would she do that?" "I don't know, Liz. She's your friend, not mine. You figure out what she was up to." Liz sat quietly for a while before I got up to grab a drink. "Can I have one too?" she asked. After I handed her a drink, she asked me something serious. "Have you ever hit on Rose since we got married?" "Me? Make a move on Rose? Are you kidding? Why would I do that? God only knows what diseases she doesn't care about catching. She's never been picky. And about Fran Cooper, your old secretary. Fran? Are you crazy? You've seen her husband. Do you think I have a death wish? So you've never flirted with Rose, and there was nothing between you and Fran? Don't be ridiculous. Why do you ask? Have you really never kissed Fran besides at Christmas parties? We all kiss under the mistletoe." "You're being silly again. Mixing business with pleasure is a mistake, and I've always been content with what I have at home." "Damn, I've been such an idiot." I avoided commenting on that, but she'd lost more than she realized. Liz looked like she needed comfort, but I kept my distance, still playing the victim. Then she started to cry, and I couldn't resist comforting her. Eventually, she stopped and asked if I'd ever done anything regrettable in our marriage. "What do you think? Why would Rose say she saw you with Fran?" "You should ask her that. She's your friend, not mine." "No, she's not my friend, not after this. I realize now that all my doubts about you trace back to her." "What doubts?" "Oh, I had doubts about you messing around when you were away and that you and Fran had something going on." "Really? Why didn't you ever mention it before?" "Because I love you. I didn't want to confront it. I hoped you would come back to me." "I'd never leave you, Liz. I love you too much." "Now I see. I should have trusted you. I'm sorry, Dave. I've not been the best wife. Can you forgive me?" "Well, that's a question for you, not me. Figure out why you doubted me. Then you'll know if you can forgive yourself." Liz then called Rose. "We're not friends anymore. Don't talk, just listen. You've tried to ruin my marriage. Never contact me again." After hanging up, Liz asked, "Can I bring my things inside from the car?" "No, let's go to bed. I've missed you. No pajamas needed tonight." That night was like a second honeymoon for us. In the morning, I arranged for our furniture to come back from storage where Liz had put it. We got back to our normal lives, minus the expense of the lawyers and Rose's influence, which was totally worth it. Eventually, Liz learned that before we were married, Rose had a thing for me and wanted to take me from her. I always kept my distance from Rose because she seemed too forward for me. Liz and I are planning to grow old together, communicating more openly now. I hang out at Ricky's club often, but Liz is the real star on the dance floor. We haven't seen Rose since that day. On our anniversary, after one of my trips, Liz met me at the door and led me upstairs, quickly getting undressed. She pushed me onto the bed and went straight for my belt. Then she started giving me an incredible blow, better than I could ever remember. Certainly better than Fran or Rose ever did. Not as great as that lady in Blackpool who looked like Mailing, though. I really lucked out because of the resemblance. Before marrying Liz, I did have a fling with Rose, taking advantage of being a twin. However, Rose was all talk and lacked substance. I suspect she was upset with Phil, thinking it was me who criticized her performance. I've always disliked Rose, and I wonder if she ever realized Phil and I switched places on her. If she did, she kept it to herself. I've always tried to be a gentleman, but I've never claimed to be perfect. We're just a bit more cautious in life now.